Hello all, welcome to the JavaScript tutorial series. In this tutorial, we'll learn about the JavaScript functions. So what is functions? JavaScript function is a block of code that is developed to perform specific tasks. It is a basic building block in JavaScript. So why we use function? We use function to make code reusable. So we can write code once and we can use it multiple times. So let's understand the structure or the syntax of function. So first of all, we have function keyword, function name, parameter, then curly brackets, function body, return, return value, and then function, a function name and arguments. So what are they? We'll just understand that in the next example. So if you see, this is an example of multiplication. So this function returns a value of multiplication of these two numbers. So we'll understand that in a minute. So for now, can you see here I'm passing two arguments, and if you see n1 and n2 are two variables or parameters which are limited to this scope. We'll just understand this with an example. Here I have created this functions.html file and added these script tags. So now I also have to open it in the browser. So which is there. I copied this path from right click, copy path, and you'll get that. And now I want to open them at the simultaneously. So what I'll do, Windows and left arrow, and I'll open this and Windows and right arrow. So now if you see, both screens are open at the same time. I'll just open console and it is there. So let's start understanding what is function. So function is a block of code that we can reuse. So how to write a function? Before that, we'll just close this. Yeah, so we have more space to work. So let's understand. Function performs some specific task. So in that example, we have used multiplication. Here we'll use a function that will calculate area of rectangle. All right. Now parenthesis. Here we'll pass the parameters, the variables or the inputs to this function. All right. So for this function, we'll need L, comma B, length and breadth of rectangle. Then to add the function body, we have used this curly braces. Inside that, we'll write our function body. So let's do this. Console.log, and inside that we'll do our calculation to, oh, we'll write this to L into B, semicolon. Now this is the function declaration, but we need to write the function to invoke. So we'll invoke the function. For that, we'll use the name area of rectangle and we'll pass the arguments. Let's suppose 3, 6. So remember this thing. These values are parameters and these values are arguments. Don't get confused with that. All right. So if I semicolon and if I refresh this page, let's see. Okay, what we're getting this 2 is not a function, so we need to add multiplication, and let's refresh. Can you see it is giving the output? So if you remember in our example, we have used return method keyword. So we can also use return. What it will do, return will throw some value. Right now what is happening in this area of rectangle function, we are printing the value inside the function only. But what if we want to use it in some other where, if we don't want to print it and we want to use it somewhere else, so what will we do? So we'll just comment this with 2 backslash and we'll return it with 2 into ln to b. So let's copy and paste, semicolon. Now it will return the value, and where did that go? If I refresh, it will not print anything because there is no console log statement. So what I'll do, I'll create a variable let. We have learned let in our previous video. So let we want area variable equal to, now this function uh, is taking input 3 and 6 in the form of lnb, and it is making some computation, and it is returning that calculation with the keyword return. It will throw that here, and we'll move that value into area. So if I console log area and semicolon, let's refresh. Can you see it is printing the value that this function is returning? All right, so it's like a transaction kind of thing. So here I am giving these inputs as a part of transaction, and in return this function is returning me this value. All right, this computation value. We can you know we can solve it. Let calculation, we can make it more simple. Control X, Control V, and instead of sending this entire calculation, we will write this variable calculation, and it will not change anything, but it will make us easy to understand. All right, so remember this thing, these L and B value are limited to this function. So if I try to console log, uh, let's try to console log this L, and if I, you see it is not defined because these L and B are only limited to the scope where this curly bracket ends. All right, in this function only. So if I try to access this L and B outside the function declaration, it will not work. All right, so this is parameter, this is argument. So we'll just revise what is happening. So this is the keyword function that we have to write. So JavaScript will understand this is a function coming. This is the name of the function. It could be anything. But for right now, we are calculating area of rectangle. That's why we made it pretty simple. Area of rectangle. Then there is input variables, or we call it parameters, L and B in the parenthesis. And ahead of that, there is curly brackets. In curly brackets, I have created the function body. So what it consists? It consists of calculation variable. We have declared here let calculation equal to, and here we have made the calculation for area of rectangle. Then I am returning the value to Here, always remember, it will not uh, generate the value here. It will generate where the function is called. Here I'm calling the function with some values 3 comma 6. That's why it is returning this calculation value here, and I'm passing it to area. If I remove these arguments and refresh, you see it is undefined because I'm not passing any value. So by default, lnb is having undefined value. So let's add 5 comma 6, and that's the reusability I was talking about. That if I want to calculate for some other rectangle, so what I'll do, I'll just copy this part and we'll use another variable. So let's call it area 2, and instead of these two value we'll give just 4 6 and area 2. So I'm not writing this area of the code, to calculate area of rectangle, but I'm just writing the call for that function, and with some different values. I'm calling that function with some different values. If I refresh, you see these two are getting printed. So it is pretty easy. So this function is printing something. We can use multiple functions like that to build a complex program. All right. All right. That's it for this video. By the way, I've made some changes with my mic. So if the audio quality is better, please let me know in the comment section. And thanks for watching.